It's not about denying suffering, but about loving it. Most people flee from the dark truths of life. Others take refuge in comforting illusions. But there's a rare type of person who not only endures the horror of the world, they transform it into strength, into greatness, into pure affirmation. This isn't a philosophy for the weak. Today you'll discover Friedrich Nietzsche's most radical thought, the pessimism of strength, a vision that awakens the strong and frightens the fragile. It's easy to be a naive idealist. It's easy to be a cynical realist. It's something entirely different to have no illusions and still keep the inner flame alive. Being a philosophical pessimist means being acutely aware of the tragic side of life. It's believing that suffering overshadows joy, that evil can defeat good, that we're victims of fate and chance, and that death is always lurking. Many consider philosophical pessimism a depressing, life-denying perspective that reflects an inability or refusal to recognize life's positive aspects. But according to the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, there's a variant of philosophical pessimism that reflects the most life-affirming state one can achieve. Nietzsche called this a pessimism of strength. In this video, we explore the nature of this pessimism and explain its relationship with personal greatness. In his autobiography, Nietzsche wrote, "Is pessimism necessarily a sign of decline, decadence, malformation, of tired and weakened instincts, as was the case among the Indians and seems to be among us modern men and Europeans? There is a pessimism of strength. There is an intellectual preference for the hard, dreadful, evil, and problematic aspects of existence, driven by well-being, by overflowing health, by the fullness of existence. Is it perhaps possible to suffer precisely from an excess of fullness?" In this passage, written in 1886, Nietzsche critically revisits his first book, The Birth of Tragedy, written 14 years earlier. One of Nietzsche's goals in The Birth of Tragedy was to provide philosophical comfort to those who possessed Dionysian wisdom. Dionysus was the ancient Greek god of suffering and tragedy. Dionysian wisdom consists of a sharp awareness of the darkest realities of the human condition, such as suffering, meaninglessness, absurdity, tragedy, and death. As Nietzsche explains in The Birth of Tragedy, those who have attained Dionysian wisdom have truly looked into the essence of things. They have gained knowledge, aware of the truth. The one who has seen now sees everywhere only the horror or absurdity of existence. Now they come to know the wisdom of the god Silenus, and it nauseates them. Silenus was a companion and tutor of Dionysus. The wisdom of Silenus, which often accompanies Dionysian wisdom, is that it would have been better not to have been born at all. In The Birth of Tragedy, Nietzsche conveys this idea in the words of Silenus. "O wretched ephemeral race, children of chance and suffering, why do you force me to tell you what would be most beneficial for you not to hear? The best of all is utterly unattainable, not to be born, not to be nothing. But the second best for you is to die soon." Dionysian wisdom and the wisdom of Silenus represent a profound form of pessimism that can be anti-life and detrimental to well-being. By contemplating the proverbial abyss of existence, by seeing its horror and absurdity, one may develop a deep aversion to life that metastasizes into self-hatred or even hatred of humanity. The wisdom of Silenus can lead one to embrace antinatalism, the view that it's better not to be than to be, and thus bringing children into this world is unethical. This pessimistic wisdom can also serve as a precursor to passive nihilism, the conviction that if life is fundamentally tragic and meaningless, there's no point in doing anything at all. As Nietzsche wrote, the sight of the terrible truth surpasses all motivation for action. In The Birth of Tragedy, Nietzsche offers a remedy for those troubled by pessimistic wisdom. This remedy involves shielding ourselves from the terrible truths of the human condition by living as much as possible within the beautiful illusions provided by art. As philosopher Christopher Janaway explains, for Nietzsche, art is the production of beauty that deceives, and the truth is not only ugly, but so ugly that we couldn't live without obliterating it through some kind of falsification. While Dionysian wisdom penetrates the depths of existence and finds it absurd and horrible, art transforms life into what Nietzsche called an aesthetic phenomenon. Art selects and strengthens what is beautiful, hides or corrects what is ugly, And in this way, the terrible truths of life are, in Nietzsche's words, at least veiled and withdrawn from sight. As Nietzsche put it, art is a redeemer, a healing enchanter. It alone can turn these nauseating thoughts about the horror or absurdity of existence into ideas compatible with life. The idea that art offers consoling illusions that can help us endure life led Nietzsche to claim that without music, life would be a mistake. As Nietzsche wrote, the truth is ugly. We possess art so as not to perish from the truth. Art in which precisely the lie is sanctified, in which the world of deception has the good conscience on its side. Nietzsche never completely abandoned the idea that art can serve as an antidote to Dionysian wisdom, but later in life, he grew increasingly dissatisfied with this remedy. One limitation of art is that it's impossible to remain perpetually wrapped in beauty, as reality continually pierces artistic illusions. Moreover, there are moments in life when the weight of evil, suffering, or absurdity is so heavy that the illusions of art offer little or no comfort. The beauty of art, therefore, can only help us endure life. As Nietzsche expressed, as an aesthetic phenomenon, existence is still bearable for us. Many of us, however, want to do more than simply endure life. We want to embrace it, affirm it, and love it. But it's impossible to truly love life if we need to shield ourselves from its darkest aspects. To develop a truly life-affirming attitude, we need the ability to love not only what is beautiful and good, but also what is terrible and ugly. This ability forms the essence of what Nietzsche called a pessimism of strength. As he wrote in The Will to Power, let us pause for a moment on this symptom of the highest culture. I call it the pessimism of strength. Man no longer needs a justification for evils. Justification is precisely what he abhors. He enjoys evils, finds the senseless evils the most interesting. If he once needed a god, now he delights in a godless world disorder, a world of chance, whose essence includes the terrible, the ambiguous, the seductive. This pessimism of strength ends in an absolute affirmation of the world. Few possess the capacity for a pessimism of strength. Most people are cowardly in the face of life's darkest realities, and if they focus on these realities for too long, they succumb to despair. A myriad of defense mechanisms therefore protect most people from awareness of suffering, evil, and death. Only those who are strong, resilient, and overflowing with vitality have the power to face the horror or absurdity of existence and affirm it. In all abysses, I carry the blessings of my yes-saying, wrote Nietzsche in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. To understand how to cultivate a character capable of a pessimism of strength, we must explore Nietzsche's ideas on how to cultivate greatness. My formula for greatness in a human being is that one does not want anything to be different, not merely endure what is necessary, and much less conceal it, but love it. Because the human being is not a unified singular self, but a complex amalgam of competing drives. Drives are fundamental forces that guide our behavior, desires, and thought patterns. At one level, drives are our primitive instincts, like the drive to survive and the sexual drive. Drives also manifest as deeper psychological and existential motivations. The will to power, for example, is a drive toward growth, mastery, and influence over oneself and others. The drive of curiosity pushes us to seek knowledge and explore the unknown, while the artistic drive inspires creativity in the pursuit of beauty. We also possess drives to engage in specific activities, like the drive to exercise, philosophize, socialize, or spend time in solitude. For Nietzsche, what determines a human being's greatness is the number and strength of the drives that constitute their being. The more powerful and numerous the drives, the greater the self. An individual with weak drives or only one or two strong drives does not meet Nietzsche's criteria for greatness. As Christopher Janaway explains, considering individual drives on a weak-strong spectrum, Nietzsche views the presence of strong drives as characteristic of the greatest or healthiest type of human individual. The more numerous the drives that can be sustained in an individual, the greater that individual. This helps rule out some examples that would be quite ridiculous to consider paradigms of human greatness. For example, someone with a strong, even dominant drive towards stamp collecting, alongside some more mundane drives like sleeping and eating, Is too simplified an individual who doesn't come close to Nietzschean greatness, no matter how fervent and dominant their main drive is. Even someone whose only strong drive was to philosophize or compose music wouldn't satisfy this model of fullness. To meet Nietzsche's conditions for greatness, we must increase the number and strength of our drives. One of the most effective ways to do this is to practice unrestricted self-acceptance, which involves embracing all our drives, even those that clash with contemporary moral standards. For example, in our era, the drive for power is demonized. This is partly because modern morality has been deeply shaped by weak individuals who lack power in the belief that they can attain it. Moreover, many fail to understand that power, the ability to influence oneself, the environment, and others, is a fundamental human need. The drive to dominate is another drive that society demonizes. But in its healthy manifestations, this drive is simply the desire to excel and surpass others, and it's essential in the pursuit of excellence, whether in sports, business, or creative endeavors. Accepting and strengthening drives that clash with modern standards isn't an endorsement of cruelty or oppression, but a recognition that such drives form an important part of the economy of drives that constitute a strong and powerful character. The terrible is part of greatness. Let's not deceive ourselves, Nietzsche explained. Along with strengthening drives that are morally questionable, cultivating greatness also requires us to cultivate drives that oppose and conflict with each other. Alongside the drive for power and the drive to dominate, we must strengthen our drives for goodwill, cooperation, and justice. If we have a strong drive for solitude, we must strengthen our drive to socialize. We must oppose a strong sexual drive with a strong drive for self-control. Because the great individual, according to Nietzsche, is composed of strong conflicting drives. This idea was shared by the great American writer John Steinbeck, who wrote about one of his characters in East of Eden. Tom's cowardice was as great as his courage, as it must be in great men. His violence balanced his tenderness, and he himself was a battlefield full of his own forces. The struggle between powerful, conflicting forces generates internal tension or friction in the soul, which produces an overwhelming torrent of energy. This energy naturally seeks to discharge itself through extraordinary deeds, ambitious projects, and creative achievements. It's the pull of opposites that stretches souls, and only stretched souls make music, wrote Erich Hoffer. Or as Nietzsche explained in The Will to Power, it is my conviction that the presence of internal conflicts and the feelings they engender give rise to a bow with great tension. The great man, the highest human being, would have the greatest multiplicity of drives and also in the relatively greatest strength that can still be endured. The final step in cultivating greatness is to bring all the drives of our being into a higher order unity. As this unity consists of a harmonious integration of conflicting drives, it is a unity of opposites, about which the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus wrote in his fragments, "What is in opposition is in agreement, and the most beautiful harmony arises from things in conflict, and everything happens according to strife," declared Heraclitus. Or as Nietzsche wrote in Beyond Good and Evil, "Only this should be called greatness, the ability to be as multiple as whole, as wide as full. To harmonize our conflicting drives, we must impose upon ourselves a compelling, overarching goal that Nietzsche called an organizing idea, which gives our life purpose and direction. When this goal is deeply rooted in us, it acts as a guiding star whose strong gravitational force pulls all our drives into its orbit. As Nietzsche expressed, the gathering of many drives into a single nature is found in human beings in whom all knowledge, desire, love, and hate strive centripetally toward a root force, and where a harmonious system of drives is formed by the compelling domination of an organizing idea that functions as the living center of the self. Nietzsche referred to those who embody these conditions of greatness as the rare cases of power in soul and body, the strokes of luck among humans. With strong, opposing drives unified by a powerful purpose, these individuals radiate vitality and strength. They overflow with energy, abound in projects and ambitions to channel their energy, and are well disposed toward themselves and existence. They are capable of a pessimism of strength. According to Nietzsche, these individuals can say yes to life in its strangest and most difficult problems. Or as he continues, the one who is richest in the fullness of life can not only afford the sight of the terrible and questionable, but even the terrible deed, and any luxury of destruction, decomposition, and negation. In their case, what is evil, absurd, and ugly seems, as it were, permissible due to an excess of procreative and fertilizing energies that can still turn any desert into a lush farmland. Besides being the prerogative of great individuals, a pessimism of strength reflects a realistic way of seeing existence, as it takes into account both the light and dark sides of the human condition. Optimism, on the other hand, is often driven by the need to distort reality. Many optimists heavily rely on defense mechanisms to keep the terrible truths of life out of consciousness and mistake their denial for positivity. But when tragedy, evil, or profound suffering strikes, their fragile optimism crumbles and gives way to a life-denying pessimism that was always lurking beneath the surface. A pessimism of strength, therefore, represents a more affirmative state of being than optimism, as the pessimist of strength is able to face reality without illusions and say yes to everything. I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful what is necessary in things, then I will be one of those who make things beautiful, wrote Nietzsche. Or as John Steinbeck echoed, there is more beauty in the truth, even if it is a dreadful beauty. The storytellers at the city gate twist life so that it looks sweet to the lazy, stupid, and weak, and this only strengthens their ailments and teaches nothing, cures nothing, nor lifts the heart. Not everyone is prepared to look into the abyss and keep walking. Not everyone can bear the naked truth without disguising it with false hopes. But those who manage it, those few, become something more. A fire that doesn't go out, a strength that needs no reason, human beings who don't ask for comfort, but transform pain into creation. Perhaps we didn't come into this world to be happy. Perhaps we came to be great. And that, as Nietzsche taught, begins with a single gesture, saying yes even to the terrible. Thank you very much for watching.